Welcome back to Breaking the Chains Healing from Physical and Emotional Abuse. You can donate by clicking the link below. Also, you can purchase my merchandise by clicking the link in the description below. Thank you all so much for your continued support. This is beginning a new season, this is season 4, episode 1. And again, I am your host, Kelly. Today we are discussing the 11 reasons why victims stay in mental and physical abusive relationships. So let's talk about it. The 11 reasons why victims stay in mental and physical abusive relationships. Number 1. The victim truly believes that his or her abuser will change just because their abuser keeps stating this to their victim. However, their victim's actions doesn't change days, months, or even years. Like I discussed in my last podcast, the reason that an abuser doesn't change is because he or she has an enabler or enablers. Denial plays a major role in a victim staying in an abusive partnership. Denial is for the victim, and it is the survival response to all the pain. That's why a majority of victims stay in an abusive relationship, because he or she can't believe it's happening. 2. Also, the abuser will convince their victim that he or she will not succeed in life if they leave their relationship, and that nobody else will want a relationship with the victim, because the abuser will convey to their victim that he or she is too damaged for anyone else to find him or her attractive. That is so far from the truth. 3. The abuser will trap their victim financially. I mean that your abuser will not allow you to work, therefore you will not have any money to leave your abuser. That's why it's always best to have employment when in an abusive relationship, even if it's a part-time job, or it could be a full-time job. This will make the transition easier for the victim of mental or physical abuse to leave their abuser. 4. A victim truly believes that they love their abuser. A victim denies the abuse and uses it as a defense mechanism. Also, a victim has an attachment style to their abuser that makes you feel dependent on your abusive partner. You're confused about your abuser's manipulation tactics. When your abuser shows a temporary change, then the victim believes that it is holding on to hope that this change will last long term, in which most cases it does not last long term. A victim will think that their love will make their abuser's toxic characteristics change, and it will not. 5. Gaslighting the victim's character so bad in that church or in the community or elsewhere so that the abuser will not have to take any. I'm going to repeat that. So the abuser will not have to take any responsibility for their mental or physical abuse. Their church members and community will believe the abuser because he or she is so manipulative and cunning. That's the only way their church, the abuser's church and community, will believe the abuser. It's because they have this manipulative ways and they are so cunning. From personally speaking and speaking with other victims of abuse, you never know what happens in an abusive partnership if you don't live in the same household with the abuser. After years pass, however, the victim's family members and friends will see the abuser's toxic behavior and they will absolutely believe the victim of mental and physical abuse. And it could also only be months that your family and friends will begin to see your abuser's toxic behavior. 6. I truly believe that insecurity plays a major role in a mental or physical partnership. Most victims struggle with insecurities while in an abusive relationship. The reason being is because after a victim stays in an abusive partnership for a short or long time, he or she doesn't feel beautiful or handsome anymore. You question your intelligence. The victim can't have a social life with their family and friends. And you really don't feel worthy of love and respect. Your abuser will keep feeding off from your insecurities. The abuser will convince their victim that they are the only one that will ever love or have a relationship with him or her. This is so far from the truth. However, when a victim is dealing with many insecurities, it will allow the fear to feed into your insecurities. That's why the victim will accept the mental or physical abuse from their abuser because he or she wants to be accepted and loved. Victims will always experience insecurities while being in a mental or physical abusive relationship. It isn't the victim's fault. The abusive relationship causes the insecurities or will cause your insecurities to arise more because your abuser wants to keep you at a very low point all the time so that you cannot function with life. like your everyday life, like function good at your job, like function good while raising your kids, like um, things like that. They don't like socializing or going out with friends or hanging out with family members. That's why victims of abuse lose himself or herself. 7. You and your abuser could have a child or children together. Most victims don't want their child or children left with the abusive parent. Also, you want your child or children safe. This means that you don't want your child or children hurt from their abusive parent. 8. Distorted thoughts. The victim feels traumatized from the control and abuse. You will feel confused, full of doubts, and self blame. Also, abusers always wear down their victims by harassing and accusing him or her, which will make the victim feel feeling of despair and of guilt. Sometimes a victim of an abusive partnership believes that they deserve to be abused. Nobody deserves to be mentally or physically abused. And also, I believe that falls on the victim's insecurities too. Number 9, families' expectations and experiences. Here's some examples. Like the victim possibly was raised in an abusive environment growing up and truly thinks that's the right way to have a great relationship. Also, a parent or a sibling or a friend could not agree with getting a divorce. That's why it's so important for parents not to stay in abusive partnerships for their child or children is witnessing the abuse. Also, some churches need to focus on abuse in relationships instead of focusing solely on divorce. Because that's why most people get divorced, is because of mental or physical abuse. 10. Fear. Your abuser could threaten you physically or emotionally to try to keep their victim trapped in the abusive partnership. Here's examples of emotional and physical threats. You will never find someone else like me. That's the whole point of leaving an abuser, to never find someone else like them. When I found you, then I will unalive you. That's from an abuser. Then the victim can file a restraining order to protect himself or herself and their child or children. 11. Isolation. Your abuser does not want you to have any other relationships. Abusers will not want their victims to spend time with their family and friends. Your abuser will have any excuse as to why you should not socialize with your family and friends. Or your abuser could threaten physical harm to you if you spend time with your family and friends. This will always make the victim feel isolated from the world. The abuser wants their victim isolated from their family and friends because he or she doesn't want you to express the traumatic events happening in the abusive relationship. I'm going to state that again. The abuser wants their victim isolated from their family and friends because he or she doesn't want you to express the traumatic events happening in the abusive relationship. However, your true family and friends will be very loving and supportive when you speak your truth about your abusive partnership. Thank you so much for your continued support of my podcast. Again, you can donate by clicking the link below. Also, you can buy my merchandise by clicking the link below. And thank you all for your continued support. And I hope you all have an amazing Monday.